biggest thing that, at least that I see with members, is their sense of belonging. Like they feel a little bit more confident coming into classes, all because of that relationship. They have that open dialogue with the coach directly, outside of just the classes themselves. So that's how we're able to sort of balance this out per version of the Foundations program. But to Derek's point, it's been very successful with the post Foundations program, 3 months. And then after that, they'll either, they stick around with a group training membership. And if, like Derek pointed out, we do have like personal training options, which we've seen success with. And then we also offer these check-ins like a la carte. So if they want to do that and bundle it with their current membership of their choosing, then they're able to continue along the journey with those services as well.
Hi, I am Kelly Berry, VP of Operations here at Fitness Revolution, and at FR, we empower fitness business owners to build and grow profitable businesses that they are passionate about. We do that through a combination of our coaching process, our content, and our proprietary fitness business alignment system. We provide the long-term solution to burnout for fitness business owners, and we've been doing that since 2005, so 18 years now, quite a long time. And what's working now is where we surface and share what's working right now in our own successful fitness business owner community here at FR. We talk about what's working, how it's getting done, and best practices. And today we're going to be talking with business owners and FR coaching partners, Joelle Zayas and Derek Saffold. They are from R3VIVE Fitness in Boston. So a little bit about each of them. Joelle was born and raised in Boston, grew up not more than 5 minutes from where their business is currently located. And during high school, he was in a popular hip-hop breakdancing group called the Floor Lords, local to Boston, probably the first real-life breakdancer I've ever met. But that's how he fell in love with movement. But after a few injuries, he decided to stop dancing, but he needed to fill the void for training and movement, and that's when he found a local CrossFit. It had great coaches. He eventually became a coach, then a general manager, which kind of led him to, or inspired him, I guess, to open his own studio. He wanted to do things a little bit differently, and he did that in 2019, correct?
Yes.
Yep. 2019. So he's currently CrossFit Level 2 certified, and his main skills outside of coaching are web development and marketing, which are both very important skills to have as a business owner. And then Derek. So Derek is originally from Alabama, so he's Southern like me. He grew up playing sports, and that's where his journey to becoming a coach really started, even though at the time he didn't know that. So after high school, he joined the Marine Corps for 7 years, worked as a combat engineer, which is where he really just started to get into his love of training. I think he referred to it as being obsessed with training, not just strength, also conditioning. And when he came out of the Marine Corps, he decided to go to school for civil engineering. And on the side, he learned how to coach. He got his USA weightlifting level 1. He began coaching at a CrossFit. That's where he got his CrossFit level 1. And then once he graduated, he began working as an engineer while he was still coaching. And then in 2018, he made the switch full-time from being an engineer to being a full-time coach, and then went on to found R3VIVE with Joelle. He's now CrossFit Level 2. And it sounds like the combo of an engineer and a marketer is a pretty good like business partner combo. You've got somebody with an engineer mind and somebody like maybe more creative marketing mind. So how does that work for you all?
Yeah, little left brain, right brain action combined.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it works great. We're constantly thinking of new ideas to bring to the place. Derek is really good at analyzing things from a numerical standpoint, putting a number to an idea, and then, making it a reality. I'm really good with creating SOPs, so that way everything is documented. So that way, we have a blueprint for executing our plans.
Awesome. So what we're here to talk about with you all, it sounds like kind of like the perfect combination of those two things. But what you all are doing there at Revive, I think is something that's interesting. And I think it, to me, and we'll talk about this, but it sounds like it's like this program that you all have created called Foundations is something that's kind of like best interest of your clients, best interest of your business, and best interest of your staff. And so if you all could tell me, just summarize, like, what is Foundations? Why did you all create the program? And what was the void that you had that program is now filling in your business?
Sure. You want to answer?
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
So, primarily, we were running things very traditionally where, we offer group training classes. That's always been our bread and butter since we opened. We also have personal training, personal programming as well. So, what we found is throughout our earlier years, we were always, we would conduct a consultation. And the hard part was always this sort of placement procedure. So, typically what would happen is we would hear from somebody knowing that they needed a little bit more specialized treatment. We did have, we still do have an on-ramp program, which is, we'll kind of touch on how we baked it all in. But essentially, sometimes we felt that they needed a little bit more, and personal training for a lot of people could be really complicated due to time restraints, financial restraints, many different things that people will walk away from. And so at a high level, what we wanted to create was something that was a bit hybrid with it all. The main thing is, we want people to be held accountable. We want them to feel as if, their first sort of 3 months, which are a very critical, crucial time period for anybody who's brand new, especially as it comes to like creating new habits. We wanted them to feel as if they were accountable throughout the journey. So that's kind of where Foundations came in. We've been doing it now.
We had it a little earlier, like maybe like November last year, but we really didn't kick it off until January this year. That's kind of where it really kicked off. We've had variations of it before where we were just running basically 3 on-ramp sessions, but it wasn't baked into anything really. It was just like those 3 on-ramp sessions built on top of a normal membership. And like me and him both come from like lower income areas. So like we saw that happening here where like that price tag, unless someone was like really ready for a change in their life, was really hard for people to get over, even though there's a lot of value there for them. So what we tried to do, we can't realistically lower it too much business-wise. So what we try to do instead is add value to them so that the price tag doesn't look as it comes off some crazy high. And then we try to include more like shorter term, like personal 30-minute check-ins as they go. So it allows us to retouch base, check in on things that we worked on early on and make sure they're staying, and we're helping them hold them accountable. And baking that all together, just, it made way more sense. And then when we launched it in January, we saw so much success from it with the people who came in and did it, even though it was really our first iteration of it, that we were just really happy with it, and we've seen like tons of success. And then other members who joined earlier have seen their success, and have jumped on board with doing check-ins as well. So it's kind of been, it's been really successful. It's been good. It's been a good kind of like combo, like trying to get more personal training and get more involved with them one-on-one, while also getting them to do the thing they came in here to do, which was the group classes.
So tell me, or I guess like explain exactly what is it? I know you all have like a few different levels, but if you could just talk through like, what is this combination, and in what like 3 levels is somebody able to participate in it?
Sure. I'll start. You can fill in. So everything starts and ends with a consultation. So, we have many different ways of generating leads. our primary tool is going to be our website. So when somebody schedules an appointment and they come in, we walk them through a series of questions. We earn their trust. So that way we can, in the back of our minds, as we're having these conversations around their goals, make a recommendation, or we're already sort of thinking of a recommendation to give them in terms of placement. So the way that Foundations is structured, we have 3 levels based off of, how those responses go. So, version 1 is going to be somebody who has little to no experience. Version 2 is going to be an intermediate athlete with little background experience, but somebody who hasn't been consistent. And version 3 is going to be somebody who, has experience, but maybe they need a little bit more accountability. So those 3 versions sort of play along with the check-ins that we have, the context of the check-ins we have with the members. Of course, as we're getting to know them and we're understanding their needs, we're also adjusting what that could be. So for example, somebody who's newer, who, has little to no training and has little to no understanding of movement patterns and cues, then the focus of those check-ins would be mostly around some of those things, and maybe even nutrition and lifestyle. Whereas if you get to the version 3 person, maybe, what they need is more of the icing on the cake. They need to perfect a more higher skill movement, or, get deeper into nutrition and educate them on macronutrient counting and micronutrients. So during that consultation, we're able to assess an initial placement. And then what we do is we schedule an appointment for a movement assessment. And in this movement assessment, we're able to learn, how they move. We have a whole entire series of movements with rankings from 1 to 5, and we score them. This all gets put into their profiles. And that helps us when it comes time to having check-ins around movement, understanding what we could do. It also helps us to potentially create programs. So the good thing about Foundations is this not only sets the members on a good path to begin, but also moving forward. They've earned trust throughout these 3 months with their assigned coach. And if there's something that's still sort of lingering in terms of that scaling system, then the coach is able to easily create more dialogue around helping them. And so, and I'm trying to quickly summarize so Derek can put some input in there. But after that movement assessment, what we'll do is we'll if we need to adjust their ranking, because perhaps we saw them as a 2, but they moved in and we're like, wait a minute, no, we need to bump you down to 1. We're able to do that then. And then they start their group training classes with those check-ins. We have an idea of what the context of those check-ins are going to be about. And then they just have that accountability factor from one of the assigned coaches. So I will say the other benefit to this, aside from the member, is the personal training side of it, because as we know, we push for personal training because it's not only member beneficial, but it's also beneficial for a coach and somebody who wants to earn in this industry. So this is a good way to sort of bridge the gap between coaching classes and also having your assigned members that you can continue to have open dialogue with. So that's it from my end on a high level. I don't know if
I guess, like on a systematic side of things, like Joel was saying, it starts with that consult. From that consult, which is more kind of like what we're doing, it's just like a conversation with them, understanding their background, goals, who they are as like people, like why they want to do this, if they've made some major life change, what that is, so on and so forth. From there, everyone goes through a movement assessment that goes through Foundations, because that just gives us like a warm and fuzzy, right? Like if whatever we see, we can then go, hey, like you move great. Let's just get you into classes. We'll do a check-in once a month, so on and so forth. And that's like a version 3. If not, and we see a lot of like mobility restrictions or like movement restrictions or like core strength issues, we'll go, hey, like we need to run some more one-on-one sessions to start. And those are kind of where the on-ramps are baked in. So we would do 2 sessions to teach basics like squat and upper body pulling, and then hip hinging and upper body pushing. The goal is really just to teach the basics. So we're not going to go in and teach like Olympic lifts during that time. It's literally how to pick something up off the ground, how to squat correctly, how to pull your body towards something or something to yourself, and then how to push it away. Right? In a safe way. So basic movements.
And also like terminology and cues, like what to expect in a group training dynamic, right? So they're not like lost, you know?
Yeah, that's in there too. And then from there, like the goal is for them to have earned, like both the coach and the member to have learned to trust each other and really have understanding. Whoever their coach is shares that information with the other coaches if there's any major issues, and then that gets baked into the coaching and the classes. And then from there, they have their check-ins, and they can be followed up on what we learned in the movement assessment. If things look great in the movement assessment, it could be followed up with nutrition. If that was good or that's not really one of their major goals, it could be some kind of movement proficiency or goal session, right? So we're really just trying to hold people accountable and then add extra value on top of these things so that they get results. Because that's what it all comes down to for the client, is ensuring that they get results from what they're coming in and paying for and doing.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. So a couple of questions specific to the goal. You all call them check-ins. Yep. So when somebody joins and they're either a level 1, 2, or 3, how many check-ins are they getting over that 3-month time period?
Yep. So the first month, they're going to run through that movement assessment and then the 2 on-ramp sessions. So they're getting 3 hours of one-on-one attention that first month.
And that does depend on which.
That minimum, they're getting that movement assessment. And then they're going to go into classes, right? If it's a level 1, they're going to only get 12 that first month. And then they can still come in for open gym, but they're really just getting 12 classes.
Okay.
Level 3, they can come to as many classes as they like, right? Okay. That second month is where the check-ins start. If it's someone new, one, they're going to get 2 30-minute in-person check-ins with the coach. So they basically get 1 every 2 weeks. The reason why we wait until the next month is because we want there to actually get some more data on them, see how they move, see what things they're struggling to learn, see if we actually see some improvements from that first month from what we talked about during the on-ramp sessions. And then we can start to address some more specific stuff if needed. If they're a version 3, they get 1 check-in. And the idea is the same there. It's more, if you're a version 3, it's more really about accountability or higher level skill building. Really. You're probably not going to re-teach them to squat if they're that experienced. You might need to go back and do that.
Yeah, fix things up.
Right, and fix things up. But you're probably going to be talking about more specific goals. There are people who might be more specific other than just, I want to be healthier, I want to lose weight. It might be a little bit more specific in terms of, like, I want to improve my aerobic conditioning, or I want to run a 5K, or or something like that. So it might become more specific with someone more experienced.
Okay.
And then third, same thing. 2 check-ins for the lower tier and 1 check-in for the higher tier. And then we do nutrition-specific check-ins as well. Those are like 15 minutes. Those are baked in as well. They get 2 on the low end for the lower tier and 1 for the higher tier, for the tier 3. Yeah.
Okay. And so you all have like monetized these sessions in their rate that they're paying for the first 3 months.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Okay. And so after they have been in for 3 months, have you all had an experience where like somebody wants to retain these check-ins and you're now selling them once they transition into kind of like a regular membership, or have you all experienced that yet?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. Like in January when you get that big influx of members, I mean, every gym sees a drop off after that, like, and especially even in retention of those people, because they come in and then they lose interest and fall out. We saw a much smaller drop off from running this, and we saw, I don't want to say a significant number, but a good number of them hold the check-ins and then also, or go into a personal training style like package. So they would do personal training classes. So it was like early in January for like those newer people who are really looking to make big changes. It was super successful. Now, as the summers rolled around and like incoming members have changed, we're seeing a much higher level experience from these members, and they're still hanging on to these check-ins. Those members will do it almost kind of piecemeal though. They'll do it for like a month or 2 while they're working on a specific goal. Once they've kind of gotten to that goal, they'll kind of take a break from it until they discover they want to hit a new one, or maybe after talking to us a month after they stopped, they learned that like they've kind of fallen back and they want to get back on it and have that level of accountability. So we've seen a lot of success of people holding on to those check-ins.
Yeah.
And as a plus side, it was kind of our goal, but I don't think I realized how much it would impact people going into personal training as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know you mentioned initially like personal training being really beneficial to the trainer because it's an additional way that they can make money. So do they get compensated for these check-in sessions?
Yeah. So these sessions, in order for us to, avoid sticker shock, we've cut these check-ins to 30 minutes. And so based on that version in which we assign them, again, it can be different for a newer member versus somebody who has experience. And we offset that with if a newer member needs more personalized check-ins, well, then they need lesser group classes. So that's where we sort of offset the cost. So we'll use the 12 classes per month for them to get them started. That lowers the cost of initially up front. And then we're able to give them a little bit more check-in. So all of the pricing is the same because of those the amount of check-ins in which we assign. So newer person gets a little bit more. Somebody who has experience gets a little bit less. The nutrition sessions, again, that also depends on which version is assigned. And I should also point out that the assignment isn't really communicated with the client. Like we don't ever want somebody to feel like I'm only a level 1 and I need 2. Like, this is our determination. What they're getting is still the accountability and the value, whereas we have an assigned nutrition program that's 6 to 8 weeks, which correlates roughly with the same time frame of those first 3 months. So all of that transformation, all just sort of like compounds together. But the biggest thing that, at least that I see with members, is their sense of belonging. Like they feel a little bit more confident coming into classes, all because of that relationship. They have that open dialogue with the coach directly outside of just the classes themselves. So that's how we're able to sort of balance this out per version of the Foundations program. But to Derek's point, it's been very successful with the post Foundations program, 3 months. And then after that, they'll either, they stick around with a group training membership. And if, like Derek pointed out, we do have like personal training options, which we've seen success with. And then we also offer these check-ins like a la carte. So if they want to do that and bundle it with their current membership of their choosing, then they're able to continue along the journey with those services as well.
Yeah. So a couple of additional questions about the check-in session specifically. Is it a requirement that all trainers have to do those, or is that something that they like volunteer? Like that's as a trainer, they're like, I would like the opportunity to do that, or is it just now it's part of the expectation that you have of all of your trainers?
So it's a little bit of both, right?
Okay.
We have not gotten to the point business-wise that we have another like actual part-time coach like hired. I'm here, right? So I do a majority of them, right?
Okay.
If you do the consultation, you typically, whoever did that consultation, whatever coach did, is the one that takes that member through the whole process, right?
Okay.
So unless there is like we were not able to schedule it with a coach that is interested in doing these things, you typically don't get scheduled for them, right? Unless it's like an emergency. But in general, only coaches that are interested in running members through these do the consultations.
Okay.
Now, once we get a part-time coach, it'll probably be me and them running all of them unless we just need assistance in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then is there like a percentage, I guess you would say, if the customer was, their value to the business was X prior to you all kind of launching this offer, what would you say like the percentage increase one of those customers is to like value-wise to the business now?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Like I can say that our members are, what is it? Forget the acronym for it, but the amount of money we make per money the amount of money we make per member per month has definitely significantly risen over January by a lot, by a lot.
Yeah.
Now this has only been like 6 months, right? So like our length of engagement, to be honest, has always been really good. It's hard to tell if this has had made a significant impact on length of engagement because it's only been a few months, and our length of engagement was like 8 months or something like that before. So it was pretty good. There was a point where it was almost a year long.
But I will say to that, just not to cut you off, but we are insured 3 months, right? And that's a good amount of time. Whereas like before we've done like not trials, but like your first month is X. And it's very minimal. It's just to get them in the door. This 3 months is a little bit more accurate in terms of like transformation. Yeah. It's a little bit more realistic. We're not selling them on, false hope, right? Like people need to understand that this transformation occurs over time. This isn't just something that you see a commercial on. And ideally, I mean, it really does play into their confidence building and that relationship building, and they see how they have a community of members that are very similar and alike in their expectations, and that really helps. They're around that for a while, and then after those 3 months are over with, it's become a habit to them. They see the value in spending $200+ a month for a membership or for anything else. It's really hard to explain that up front during the conversation.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It seems like it's a great thing for basically like all of the major components that you want to hit on. It's a great thing for community building. It's a great thing for client coach relationships. It's a great thing for retention. It's a great thing for revenue stream for coaches. There's a lot of really valuable components to it. Not even to mention it helps people get better results, which is, why they're there and what you're trying to do anyway. So,
right.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I think, I think when we were first talking about this, it's basically helping to deliver a more personalized service for people who are what they need is personal training, but they maybe have some limiting factors that don't allow them to participate in that program. So they're group training clients, but they get a lot more coaching, personal guidance, and as a result, like hopefully for you all, like lifetime customers, right? Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything else about Foundations, the program that we didn't touch on, or you think it would be good for people to know?
Not too much. I mean, I guess the one thing I would touch on, because it's worked well for us, like the incentivization of having these check-ins like baked into the membership and having the coaches being paid to actually perform these check-ins has been really big, as opposed to it being like a part of like a salary or a payment structure. It's almost like personal training. They have to perform this session for them to get paid for it. And then because the member is already incentivized to do it, but this also incentivizes the coach to double check and make sure that these things get scheduled and followed through on. And I find that to be very helpful from my side as a head coach, that the coaches do not forget about them. They do not overlook them. They make sure they get checked. They make sure they get scheduled. And then like if someone needs to reschedule, if they cancel, it does get rescheduled. It doesn't get right. So adding that piece into it was really helpful, because like we had talked about having it just baked in to like how a coach gets paid in general. And going this route seems to have worked really well for at least for the check-ins.
Yep. I can definitely see that. Accountability on both sides,
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. That's a great thing you all have going. And I'm sure, you've talked about, you've iterated on it a little bit. I'm sure you're learning more as you go and may do so in the future, but it seems like what you've got is working pretty well for you right now.